Hi, this is Amy's Banned Book Buzz, and today I'm talking about the book One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. It's by Ken Kesey. Um, he was um, a really good writer. He passed away in 2001. Um, his books that he has, they're considered classics, and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is basically one of his most notable or famous books that written. Um, Now, if you haven't read the book, I recommend that you read it. And then if you read the book and you enjoy it, I recommend that you watch the movie that goes along with it, starring Jack Nicholson and a bunch of new, or at the time, um, very young actors that you may recognize today. Of course, my favorite is always Danny DeVito, but that's just my favorite actor. Anyways, the book is basically it's about a mental ward, um, a sanitarium, a sanatorium, whatever they used to call it, um, and it's taking place in an era where let's see, sedation and shock treatment was the norm. You know, if you acted out, you got shock treatment, or you were sedated so much that, or restrained with, the leather belts, um, hard restraints, not the soft ones that they use now. Um, there were padded rooms. You were taken to a place where you would have shock treatment and then sent to your room until you behaved. Um, in the book, um, it's there's a new patient on the ward. His name is McMurphy, excuse me, and he's coming from a jail, and the they sent him there because they want to see if he is actually crazy or faking crazy, so he doesn't have to be out in jail, excuse me, or if he belongs in a mental health facility. So he likes to push people's buttons. He likes to rile people up, and but he also tries to make some friends, and he does that, and he adds some fun to their lives, but also some fun that doesn't always end up being fun. They get in more trouble than it's worth. Um, Many of the patients are described in different ways as vegetables, chronics, acutes, and then there's those that are volunteers. They voluntarily um, check themselves in, so if they wanted to leave, they could. And many, and all the voluntary commitments were they're not ready to go on the outside. Even if McMurphy, when he finds out that it's voluntary, if you're voluntary, why are you still here? Um, but then he understands a little bit. Um, while he's trying to prove that he's crazy, he's also trying to prove that he's not crazy. By tricking Nurse Ratched and not taking his pills or saying things to rile her up. Um, he wants to bend the rules, and sometimes he gets so riled up that he ends up going to shock treatment. Um, the book is very detailed, and it's written from the point of view of who they call Chief. Well, actually, McMurphy calls him Chief, and um, McMurphy learns that this large man is, people call him deaf and dumb because he doesn't speak to anyone, and they don't know if he can hear them, but actually he can talk and he hears, and he's not stupid, he's not dumb. Um, he just knows he needs to be in there and but he kind of wants to get out too, and he will only talk to McMurphy, which is it's kind of an interesting dynamic between the two. So to why was this book banned? Well, they shed a light on mental illness. There's still, now there's still a stigma if you have mental illness. It doesn't matter what it is, there's a stigma. If it's mental, emotional, or whatever, there's still a stigma with it. Oh, you're crazy or insane, or people make light of things like that. And sometimes the people who have it have to make a light of it. It's something that it's how people cope with mental illness or some other issues that they have. They joke about it, and sometimes it's just the only way to survive. The book is very detailed, and it was banned mostly about how mental illness was perceived, the use of shock treatment. There were some obscenities. McMurphy plans and has prostitution. Prostitutes come in that he knew, and one of them had sex with one of the residents, and then when they got caught, he was so terrified that he killed himself. And there was also some scenes in there that, it's scenes of suicide, scenes of smothering someone, the use of drugs, not the prescription drugs, but just the use of drugs. So that's, it's something that, it's dramatic and it's eye-opening, and you're like, wow, why are they, there are these 3 janitors. They're all African Americans, and in the book they're called the 3 Black Boys. So that's kind of where the era this is taking place. But I found a section in the book that I'd like to share and read to you. I recommend this book highly. Don't ever let anybody tell you what you can and cannot read. And like I said, if you read this book and you love it, watch the movie. It's very, very close to, which is unlike a lot of movies. It's very close to what is written in the book. But I think you read the book first. It gets you that perspective. If you've read this book before, read it again. And, and maybe just share it with someone else. So I'm going to just kind of start reading. In the group meetings, there were gripes coming up that had been buried for so long that the thing being griped had already changed. Now that McMurphy was around to back them up, the guys started letting fly at everything that ever happened on the ward they didn't like. Why does the dorms have to be locked on the weekends? Cheswick or someone would ask. Can a fellow even have the weekends to himself? Yeah, Miss Ratchet, McMurphy would say. Why? If the dorms are left open, we have learned from the past experience, you men would return to bed after breakfast. Is that a mortal sin? I mean, normal people get to sleep late on the weekends. You men are in this hospital, she would say, like she was repeating it for the 100th time, because of your proven inability to adjust to society. The doctor and I believe that every minute spent in the company of others, with some exceptions, is therapeutic, while every minute spent brooding alone increases your separation. Is that a reason that there has to be at least 8 guys together before they can be taken off the ward to OT or PT or one of those T's? That is correct. You mean it's sick to want to be off by yourself? I didn't say that. You mean if I go to the latrine to relieve myself, I should take along at least 7 buddies to keep me from brooding on the can? Before she could come up with an answer to that, Cheswick bounced to his feet and hollered at her. Yeah, is that what you mean? And the other acutes sitting around in the meeting would say, yeah. Is that what you mean? She would wait till they all died down and the meeting was quiet again. Then she would say quietly, if you men can calm yourself enough to act like a group of adults at a discussion instead of children on the playground, we will ask the doctor if he thought it would be beneficial to change a ward policy at this time. Doctor, everyone knew the kind would be off on another complaint. Then what about our cigarettes, Miss Ratchet? Yeah, what about them? The acute grumbled. McMurphy turned to the doctor, put the question straight to him this time, before the nurse had a chance to answer. Yeah, Doc, what about our cigarettes? How does she have the right to keep cigarettes, our cigarettes, piled up on her desk there like she owns them? Bleed a pack out to us now and then, whenever she feels like it. I don't care much about the idea of buying a carton of cigarettes and having someone tell me when I can smoke them. The doctor tilted his head so he could look at the nurse through his glasses. He hadn't heard about her talking over the extra cigarettes to stop gambling. What's this about cigarettes, Miss Ratchet? I don't believe I've heard. I feel, doctor, that 3 or 4 and sometimes 5 packages of cigarettes a day are entirely too many for a man to smoke. This is what seemed to be happening last week after Mr. McMurphy's arrival. That is why I thought it would be best to impound the cartons the men purchase at the canteen and allow each man only 1 pack a day. McMurphy leaned forward and whispered loudly to Chaswick. Hear her tell the next decision is about trips to the can. Not only does the guy have to take 7 buddies into the latrine with him, but he's also limited to 2 trips a day to be taken when she says so. So one of the most interesting characters, besides the narrator, the chief, of course, is McMurphy, but also the other patients there, Martini and Chaswick, and they all have a different perspective, of different problems. Sometimes they don't understand things. Sometimes they don't know why they are, or they blame other people for whatever is wrong with them. I think this is a book that should be read and reread and shared with others so that you can see the difference that the mental health system was from back then to what it is now. And yet, even though there are some, there's no more shock treatments, it doesn't mean that we have progressed, and there's still that stigma. I mean, they had to sneak people in, and it doesn't tell about people getting visitors or why they have volunteered in there. One man was so afraid that his mom was going to know that he had sex with a prostitute, and he killed himself. So there are very sensitive subjects in here, but I think that, not little kids, but older kids and adults should read this book, and maybe it can have an open discussion. People who have mental health problems, maybe reading this book can help them understand what they're not going through. So thank you again. This has been One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and I'm Amy from Amy's Band Book Buzz, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.